it pays off for me when I see guests coming through our gates and doing this. Right? That's the payoff.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today. And I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to the project manager of LuminoCity Festival. Do you know what a project manager does? Well, I think I do, but hey, let's talk to this guy and find out. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing John Baiata.
Oh, man, I wish my pets were that excited when I got home and my colleagues were that excited to see me. Thank you so much for that introduction. Really excited to be here and dive into this a little bit, Tiberius. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay, so you are listed as the project manager of LuminoCity Festival. So exactly what is a LuminoCity Festival?
So we are an outdoor walk-through light festival, but one with a pretty amazing origin story, right? We were formed in the imagination of our CEO and founder, who grew up in a province of China where light festivals are ubiquitous, right? Chinese lantern festivals. Mm-hmm. And she would go to these festivals as a child, and it just fired her imagination. Like, this is incredible, right? And in addition to attending them, that whole area of China produced a lot of these amazing artworks that, when lit, just stupefy some of them. You have to see it to fully appreciate it, right? She combined that experience as a child with art school, went to art school in New York City, and a growing business acumen to launch LuminoCity. Yeah, so that's the origin of the company. And starting about 5 years ago, she began to do these light festivals, first up in the New York area, and then up and down the East Coast as we're doing now. We're expanding even further than that. We're working on an indoor adventure park, and it's such an exciting place to be. We're here in Orlando for the next 6 weeks. We're here in Orlando at the Florida Mall, and I would really encourage you to come down and see it, because, like I said, you have to see it to really appreciate it.
Okay, so I saw that your theme this year is dinosaurs. Are you talking Barney or Jurassic Park style?
Yeah, we're definitely not talking Barney, okay? This ain't Barney territory. We've got more than 70 life-sized animatronic dinosaurs.
Oh, wow.
And we've got the baby ones, we've got the adult ones, we have some of them interacting with each other. We even have one that's, I don't want to give it away for the little ones, but that's half man, half animatronic that walks around. It's the Velociraptor, so you might be familiar. And it's not just dinosaurs, it's also a lot of prehistoric animals and creatures. And it's where education meets adventure, because you're also learning about these amazing creatures that did roam the earth. This wasn't invented by us. This is just something that inspired us.
So what got you interested in working with festivals of lighting and entertainment?
Well, that's a great question. A few years ago, I attended one of these festivals as a guest. My two nephews were going with some other family members, and I thought it would be a lot of fun. And I attended it, and I brought my camera because I'm a photographer, among other things. And it was a photographer's dream. And it was wintertime, cold, but just gorgeous. And so I walked away from that experience, Tiberius, I'd never been to a light festival. So I walked away from it really impressed. But it was just an experience at that point. Fast forward a couple of years later, maybe a year and a half later, and I see that there is a job listed for that company, one that I was interested in. It wasn't project manager; it was event manager, because that was my first position with the company. And I interviewed for the position, and I remember distinctly when I was interviewing being asked, a typical interview question: why do you want to work here? And as part of my answer, not my whole answer, but as part of my answer, I said, I actually went to one of your festivals. I was wowed. I took my camera. I took these pictures. I sent them the gallery of the photos that I had taken as proof of my passion. And I think that went a long way.
Huh. So you have day and night sessions. So what's the big difference between the two?
Yeah, the big difference is when the sun goes down, because that's when you get the full appreciation. We start, we open at 4:30, so it's still light out. But once we get to sundown, that's when the magic really starts happening. So
really pops.
Yeah. So even when folks come when it's still light out, we highly encourage them to stay until the dark, because then they get the full Monty, right? They get the full experience, and we don't put any time limits once people come into the festival.
That's nice. So how many festivals a year do you hold, and wherever you have them?
We're doing about 6 or 7 a year right now. As I said, we've been growing, so I expect that they'll probably tick up. And right now we're going from Florida on up to New York and New Jersey area, so we're all up and down the East Coast. We've got Atlanta, Georgia on the map next. We're going to be in Maryland this year before we end up back at home base in New York. So that's not the limits of our travels. Again, we're looking at other places, but it's great to come into new communities and really try to be part of the fabric of the community. Orlando's. We're really kind of honored to have a place in the Orlando market, because the entertainment possibilities in Orlando are stupefying. There's so many choices for children and families and date nights. There's so many choices. So the fact that people in Orlando want to come see us is really kind of cool, we think.
So are they all dinosaur themed, or do you do other things?
We do other things. Primarily, we do a holiday theme that is this kind of majestical winter wonderland, right? It's we have ice castles, we've got presents galore, we've got Santa's sleigh, and all the kind of magical things you would associate with that time of year. So that's something we do during the winter time. We do Dino Safari the other seasons, and we do have other themes that are in the pipeline, but we haven't rolled those out yet. So I'm a little leery of sharing the exact themes with you. I was trying to make the point, though, that it's so much fun to be able to have the creative license to ideate with your boss and your colleagues about themes, and we have that kind of input, which I think is terrific. I'm going to take a minute to explain just the difference between small businesses and corporate businesses. Small businesses, there's not a lot of middle managers, and it gives you so much more freedom in a way, because you get to deal directly with the boss. You get to give input directly to the boss and get feedback directly from the boss, and that's really important. I think that you'll find as you go out into the world. It doesn't scale. You can't have a corporation with 3,000 people all reporting to the same person. That'll never work. But for small businesses, it works pretty well.
So what is one thing you think kids should know about being a project manager for festivals like this?
I think that you need to be pretty organized. If you're the kind of kid that, your room's a mess and you just can't seem to get your stuff together, your homework assignments are all over the place, you might want to tighten up and tidy up, because you really need to have your ducks in a row, as we say, right? There's a lot of moving parts. There's a timeline. There's deadlines. And while those can be intimidating for some, it's nice to be able to check things off your list and have that feeling of accomplishment. We work in a very task-oriented environment, so we've got these tasks that we have to execute on. They've got deadlines assigned to them, and you got to hit those. You got to hit those deadlines. You got to hit those numbers.
All right. Well, here seems like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that!
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we're back here talking with John Baiata. John is the project manager at LuminoCity Festivals, or LuminoCity, right?
You can say it either way.
Okay.
It works either way.
So John, what is the hardest part about running one of these festivals?
Great question. I think the hardest part about running one of these festivals is probably the hardest part about a lot of people's jobs, and that is the unexpected, the unplanned. Because inevitably, we get something that we haven't planned for. And that could be anything from, a tire blows out on one of our rides to, a lost kid that's been separated from their parents. It really just runs the gamut. So it's not any one thing that's kind of built into my job description, but it's that unexpected thing that is coming. You just don't know what it is, and you have to react to in real time. So you have to be able to, to deal with the unexpected and to have the tools in your tool belt to be able to deal with that kind of thing. And sometimes timelines get disrupted, and we were actually in Orlando last year, and our opening day we had a violent, and I mean violent, thunderstorm come through 45 minutes after we opened on our first day. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking to. We can't control.
Well.
We can do all the planning we want to do. We can project manage and event manage all up and down, but we can't control the weather. We couldn't control that. We could only control how we reacted to that.
Well, I mean, one thing you could have done while scheduling is look at the forecast, maybe. I'm joking. So what is the first part of your job that you look forward to every single day?
I think the opportunity to bring joy to children. I love children, and being able to work in a job where we can make them smile, where we can kind of champion that sense of wonder that lives in all children, and not just children, but lives in adults as well. We're rekindling that sense of joy and that sense of wonder. And it pays off for me when I see guests coming through our gates and doing this. Right? That's the payoff. Now, don't get me wrong.
For a reason, what he just did, he looked up and around. He's like gasping.
Thank you. Doesn't all translate. So, that's the payoff for me. Please don't get me wrong. We all like to be paid for what we do, right?
Yeah.
But it's a big added benefit.
Well, can we see it?
You absolutely can. You have to come down to see us. We're at the Florida Mall from starting tomorrow, the 13th, through March 30th, and we'd love to see you down there. And you can see for yourself. You can draw your own impressions. Don't just take my word for it.
Well, then let's go.
Sounds good.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show. I'm your host, Tiberius Boy, and we are here at LuminoCity. And here we got a dinosaur over here. I should be scared, but I think they're animatronics. And this is one of the biggest light shows in all of the city right now. Okay, so Larissa, what do people need to know if they want to be here and see it themselves?
Yeah, of course, Tiberius. So you guys can get your tickets online at LuminoCityFestival.com, and you can keep up to date with all of us on socials at LuminoCity Festival. And if you need to, you can even buy tickets here on site. We have tickets available if you want to have a last-minute trip, but we do suggest that you get those tickets online at LuminoCityFestival.com.
Have a bounce house, and they have a slide, and they have a LuminoCity safari dig, and they got food and a dance floor. Fossils and a train. Now I want to know, what kind of dino is this? And it's all life-sized. Okay, well, here we are at LuminoCity. I seem to really like this place. I mean, this thing must cost a fortune. Just because I see all the lights now that it's nighttime, I'm seeing this, I'm just amazed. I mean, if you look over there, there's dinosaurs everywhere. I mean, that's just a really cool part of LuminoCity, and I really do think that other people should come here. Having this Wow, that was awesome. So it says here that you also work as a digital news gatherer for, wait, NBC? Am I reading that right, Dad? NBC? Wow. What was that like?
That was amazing. I had a great career as a journalist before I had this career, which I also love. But I had more than 3 decades covering the world. I worked for NBC News, the national news, and if it happened on planet Earth and it was important, we were supposed to cover it, and we were felt like it was a mission. Sometimes it didn't even feel like a job; it felt like a mission, right? We're trying to report on people who abuse power. We're trying to give voice to the voiceless. We are trying to promote social justice and democratic ideals. So there was a lot to get you up in the morning and to get you excited about going to work.
That's funny. So what kind of stories would you report on?
Early on in my career, I covered a lot of international news. So it was a lot of, news is not always fun, right? It's important, but it's not always fun. So it was a lot of strife in the world and war zones and that kind of thing. Later on, after I got married and had kids, I segued to domestic news primarily. So that was a lot of what happens in the day-to-day around our country, but also a lot of political coverage, which, these days is getting even more difficult to do. Some real challenges there.
Well, what exactly does a digital news gatherer do?
So at that point in my career, which was late in my career at NBC News, I was the senior director of digital news gathering. And it had started off with me and 2 other people. We would use social media to do kind of investigative poking around on social media, that grew into, as the business changed, as the news business changed, that grew into something much bigger and much more important than even I thought it would. The best job I ever had at NBC was one that didn't have a job description. I'm going to tell you this. I think this is important. A job description is a best, especially for a new position, right? Mm-hmm. It's a best guess at what a job is. And I remember my boss saying to me at the time, I have this idea for a job. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I want you to go around the building, talk to different stakeholders, and I want you to come back to me and you tell me what the job is. And I never forgot that, because it was so empowering, and it worked. It really worked. I spent, I don't know, 6 weeks doing just that.
Wow. Came
back to him and said, here's what I think this is, based on those conversations that you asked me to have, based on the needs that were relayed to me. And I was able to carve out the other part of that job based on that experience.
Huh. So how long did you work with NBC?
I'm giving away secrets here. 32 years.
Wow. Okay, so when you went from from producer to digital news gathering, why did you leave the new medium business? I mean, I'm trying to think about getting to myself.
It was the pandemic, okay? Like a lot of people during the pandemic, I was reassessing what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Well, what I wanted to do when I grew up, right? As passionate as I was about news, being on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, does get draining after a while. And while I think sometimes we think we have boundless, endless reservoirs of energy, I felt like my gas tank was getting a little low. So I left voluntarily, which not everybody has the opportunity to do. I was grateful to leave on my own terms. Yeah.
Mm. With all of the jobs you've done, from the news to marketing and project management, what have you enjoyed the most?
That's an easy one, being a parent. That's easily the most important job I've ever had and the most rewarding one. I don't know that my boss would want me to give that answer, but it ain't changing. That is absolutely the best job I've ever had.
Huh. So what is the best advice you've ever received, and who gave you that advice?
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got, and that I passed on to a lot of my younger charges in my time, was you need a good reason to get to know. That's get to know, N-O, and I'll explain. When you're asked to try something new, to do something that might be a little bit out of your comfort zone, to do something that maybe doesn't fit your job description, your reflex answer, your default answer should be yes. And you should need a very good reason to get to know. Is it illegal? Is it immoral? Is it unethical? Those are really good reasons to get to know. But short of those things, say yes. Because when you do that, you open a door, you open a window, and on the other side of that door, on the other side of that window, are possibilities, are things that you hadn't thought of, are things that you thought, man, that's not for me, until you tried them. That's the best piece of advice I've ever gotten on work.
So what message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
I don't know how to answer that question without it sounding like a cliche, but I'm going to give it a try. Here's one of those cliches, right? Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. You hear that all up and up. You hear that all the time. And listen, I love the idea behind that notion, but let's be real. No matter what you do, there's gonna be days when you don't want to get out of bed. There's going to be days when you're saying to yourself, you know what, I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm not motivated. The key is, I think, to get yourself in a position where the days that you're passionate about what you're doing, the days where you really do want to get at it, get out of bed, get to work, dive into your life's work, where those days outnumber, hopefully far outnumber, the days where you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we're back with John Baiata, the project manager for LuminoCity. So how often do you have to travel for your work?
Fairly often. As I said, we're doing, half a dozen events a year. So unless it's right in our backyard up in the New York area, we're either getting in a car and driving, or we're getting on a plane and flying. But I'm a longtime gypsy, and it's natural to me now. I can pack a bag, lickety split, and we find creature comforts on the road, and you get to meet new people like Tiberius of the Tiberius Show.
That's right. So right now you're in Orlando. Well, what is the best way for people to get tickets to the Nest Festival?
Great question. You can come on down to the Florida Mall. We're right behind, or right across the parking lot from the Florida Hotel. But you can also go to LuminoCityFestival.com. Our website. You can follow us on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook. Used to be able to follow us on TikTok, but we got a little problem there recently, as you may have heard. And you can also just walk up to see us, and we'll take care of you on site. Yeah.
So how did your kids react when they saw the dinosaurs for the first time?
Well, my kids are kind of aged out of the dinosaur experience. I'll have to admit. But I'd like to think that dinosaurs are for everyone, and there's a dinosaur lover in each and every one of us. Because, I mean, if aliens landed here from space and they paged back through some of our books and they saw pictures of dinosaurs, they'd be like, what the heck? Seriously?
Where are these now?
Like, it's kind of taken for granted now because they're so ubiquitous. But when you wrap your head around dinosaurs and the wide variation of life that lived on this planet in their time, it's incredible.
It's like, you don't have the ability to regenerate? Oh, I'm so sorry.
But I mean, there's a reason why so many people and so many children are kind of obsessed with it. We have 6-year-olds come to our festivals, and they school me on dinosaurs, but they've got it all in their heads already. It's incredible.
All right. So, John, what was that one thing that happened in your career that you did not expect?
I think the answer that I'm going to give you is a little too serious, maybe for this forum, but I'm going to give it a try. And if you don't like it, I'll give you another one. How about that?
Sure.
I did not expect in my time as a journalist for journalists to be labeled as enemies of the state when we were really just trying to improve the conditions around our country. That was a bit of a shock to me, I have to say. And it's still shocking in the various iterations that has taken right now. In terms of my current position, I think the one thing I would say is my relationship with my boss and the way that she runs her organization. She is so open and so empathetic and so understanding of our needs. It's really hard to even put into words how appreciative I am of that, because to work for someone that really values you and is willing to listen to any suggestion you might have, however ridiculous it might sound, is great. So I would say in my current position, that's been the biggest and the nicest surprise.
So do you think AI has a positive role in business, or are you worried it might take over parts of a job and cost people a living?
I'm a cautious AI champion, and that is, AI is not going anywhere. It's taking many forms, and I think it's improved a lot of lives and a lot of workflows already. But like anything that's as powerful as AI is, we got to treat it as something that could also turn, right?
Yeah.
So I don't worry about it costing me a living or necessarily costing others a living.
I mean, there is like one thing that you can totally do, which is just the DEL key on your keyboard, short for delete. Yeah, that sounds about right?
You can do that as well. But listen, we're in early stages still of that what's the word I'm looking for? We're still in the early phase of what AI can be and maybe will be. I know that there's a lot of people out there who have different opinions about where it's going. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on that and where it's going, but I do think cautious optimism is the word for me.
Pure journalism. I'm joking. So what's the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and how did it change as a person?
One of the biggest mistakes I ever made was trying to please a supervisor with an initiative that I knew would fail. I was dead certain that it would fail, and yet I carried it out, or tried to carry it out, because I knew that it was important to this executive who was new to our company, and I wanted to please her. But in doing so, I did it at the expense a little bit of my reputation with some of my colleagues, because I was pushing out an initiative that not only did I know was going to fail, but they knew it too. And they knew that I knew it was going to fail. So it was this shell game almost of, well, we're just doing this to go through the motions. We don't have the experience, the skill set, or the equipment to pull
the stuff needed.
Yeah, to pull this off, but we're going to do it anyway because we're trying to please this executive. And I remember when it eventually failed, and it took about 1.5 years to fail. Oh, I remember saying to myself, I'm never going to do that again. The next time, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to give my informed opinion to whoever it is on the other end of the idea, and let the chips fall where they may. Great question, by the way.
Thank you. So, what do you do for fun when you're not working?
I have a hard time staying still, so I'm pretty active. I like to get outside. I'm happiest when I'm outside, which is another reason that this job is great for me, because we're outdoor festivals, right? So I'm outdoors all the time. So I like to get outside and explore, try to find different things around the area where I can have some fun. Go to some gardens or park or that kind of thing, and just unwind a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Well, when someone says gardens and outside, they're not the true gamer that they're supposed to be. But do you play video games?
Not the kind that you're referring to. No, but I play plenty of games.
So, what's your favorite one? What's your favorite video game?
I don't play video games. I'm sorry.
At all? Not even on your phone?
Don't be offended.
Not on your phone?
I play word games.
That
that kind of is my is my vibe. I like word games. I like those kinds of things. And I did play video games in a younger day, but that would be like talking about dinosaurs with you if I mentioned even the games that I played. That's how long ago it was.
Okay. Well, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid show. But that one story, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
All right, I'll give you one. Don't do this at home, kids. All right,
Right.
I'm gonna
listening.
preface it with that. So when I was, 8 or 9 years old, I was playing on a construction site with a good friend of mine, my best friend at the time, and we thought it would be a good idea to just poke around, and I opened up this big heavy lid, and it turns out it was the opening to a sewer well that had just been built. And not only did I open the lid, but the weight of the lid falling, I guess, pulled me down the hole. So I'm one of those kids that survived falling down a well. And if it weren't for a couple of 2x8s that were strung across about halfway down, I wouldn't be here on the Tiberius Show talking to you. So while curiosity is a great thing, you don't want to kill the cat with it. You certainly don't want to kill yourself with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I don't know if that's what you. I don't know if that's what you were after, but that's the first thing that came to my mind.
How old were you?
I was 8 or 9. Yeah.
That makes more sense now. Great to know. So, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you and what you do?
I think so. I think that I'd like to close just by kind of reiterating a couple of things, And again, I'm not trying to sound like one of those cliches. I'm not trying to sound like mom or dad lecturing you about going to college or whatever. As an aside, sorry, moms and dads who really want their kids to go to college, but I don't think every kid needs to go to college. There's plenty of things to do in the world if you don't go, but there are also plenty of career paths that kind of require that you go to university or you go to college.
I'm not that old yet. I'm not even in high school yet.
No. Well, you're smart enough to start college. You strike me as.
Well, do you have a Facebook or website for my listeners who want to follow you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the best place to find me on social media is Instagram. So at John Baiata, and it's Baiata. I think Instagram's a great medium. I love the visuals. I do some photography, and I just think it's my favorite place to be on social media. But if you're looking for a LuminoCity Festival, you can find us again at LuminoCityFestival.com on Instagram and Facebook and elsewhere as well. You can sign up for our newsletter too.
Oh, sweet. Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Why are you here?
Oh, well, that was a great question. Why are you here?
Well, there's a guy by the name of Joe Boy who kind of got his tenterhooks in me, and I mean, he told me this tale about the Tiberius Show, and the more he talked about it, the more kind of jazzed I got about it, because our sweet spot at LuminoCity Festival is kids, and we want to connect with kids. And
That's me.
yeah, that's exactly. That's you. So the conversation with Joe was like, it's built in. The connection to the kids is built in. Let me just kind of wheedle my way in there and get in front of you. So that's where I'm coming from on that.
Okay, well, thank you, John, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you so much, John, for helping me with Math Corners. This
Absolutely.
week, we're going to learn multi-step word problems. My dad is always going to find new problems for me to solve, and today, we're going to talk about festival lights. Ooh. So the town of Brightsville hosts a festival of lights every March. The festival lasts for 4 weeks, and the town installs 500 string lights to decorate the streets. Each string light uses 60 watts of electricity and stays on for 6 hours each night. The cost of electricity is 12 cents per kilowatt hour. How much does it cost to power all 500 string lights for 1 week? So what is the total cost of lighting for the entire 4-week festival?
You want a little quick there for me? What do you got, 14,000 lights? Do I have that number right?
14,000 lights.
Yeah.
I was saying, what is the cost?
I know, but to figure out the cost, you got to know how many lights we're talking about, right?
I'll figure it out.
500 string lights for 1 week?
For
Over
4 weeks.
500 string lights for 1 week times 4, right?
Yeah. So what would it be?
Yeah, I think that's it. 14,000 lights.
Well, first is a world problem because, it's important to know your costs before you set up the large outdoor lighting events. I mean, you have to ensure you set fair pricing for the tickets and so forth. So to solve this problem, you first have to figure out how much time power does the string of lights use in a day. So 60 watts times 6 hours a day is 360 watt hours. That was easy. Then I have to figure out for the weeks. That's 7 days to a week, so 360, and you get that's a bit tough. 2,520 watt hours per week. Okay, and then you have to convert the watt hours to kilowatt hours by dividing it by 1,000. So let's move that decimal point over 3 digits, and you get 2.52 kilowatt hours. So now you find out the amount for all 500 string lights. You take the 2.52 by 500, you get 1,260 kilowatts hours per week. Now that's a lot. But now I have to find the cost. So we take the 1,260 kilowatt hours by 12 cents per kilowatt hour, and you get $151.20. Yeah. But now we're done, right? Wait, there's more. Now you have to figure out for the 4 weeks. This one won't ever end, will it? Okay, well, you take the $151.20 and you times it by 4, and you get $604.80.
All right, I'm starting to regret I stuck around for Math Corners here. All right.
So, John.
English was my best subject. Math was my worst.
Is that why you worked for NBC? So, John, do you have to plan out how much the power will cost during your festivals?
Yeah, I'm glad you did the math. We do have to plan out all of our costs, of course.
Who does that part? You?
We all play a role in it because it requires input from all of us. We do have an accountant who's also kind of like a finance manager who can tell us what we're spending and what have you, and also our operations manager. But to answer your question, we can ameliorate some of our costs by doing certain things. For instance, for a while we were renting our own generators. And after a while we said, well, this is stupid. We can buy our own generators. They'll pay for themselves after
back.
a few events. We just have to maintain them and bear the cost of maintaining them. So that's what we do now. Yeah. The lights at our light festivals are LED lights, so they're pretty cost effective. They've gotten more so over the years. So that makes it a lot more palatable. We don't have shore power where we go. We're not plugging into the Florida Mall's power. It's all our own. So whatever power we need, we bring.
Huh. So thank you so much, John, for your help with Math Corners.
You bet. Not sure how much of a help I was in the end, but...
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the heart of a lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about leadership. For me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. The qualities of leadership are providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. Well, this week, as I was leaving school, I was very tired of walking to my dad's car. I noticed some younger kids struggling to carry their equipment for soccer practice. And then I saw my friend Jason step up and help them. And not just a little help. I mean, he directed some of his friends to help as well. I mean, they took over and helped carry all the stuff to the green space so the younger kids could start practice. Well, this showed the real leadership. It's not about bossing people around, but by stepping up when it counts. So, John, did you see or use leadership at all this week?
I did. I think we see that every day, and hopefully we exhibit that every day. I'm going to give a little bit of a different answer. Two of my colleagues are working mothers. One of them a single mom, our event manager and our marketing coordinator. And what I saw this week from both of them is kind of a important thing and inspiring that we talk a lot about work-life balance, right? In the workplace, and how do you get to that? And I saw both of them making a concerted effort, not just to carry out their responsibilities for the company, but to connect with their children virtually to make sure that their children were still getting everything that their children needed back at home. How they do on their homework? How did the meeting with the teacher go? How you feeling? Did you take your medicine? Those might sound like small, trivial things, but the ability to multitask like that and really find that sweet spot where you're giving what you need to give to your work and you're giving what you need to give to your family is really compelling for me. And that's leadership in a form that maybe you wouldn't expect or first think of.
Well, of all of the Heart of Lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
I think there's a strength in everything that we do. Life is hard sometimes, and it can beat you down if you let it. And I think that, Heart of a Lion and strength, you kind of think of that roar, you think of this really strong animal, this king of the jungle. But strength takes a lot of forms. Strength you showed after school in your example. We show strength when we turn the other cheek, when maybe we're insulted and we let it go. That might come off as a weakness to some people, but it's a strength. So I think strength in all of its iterations is my answer.
Well, we should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing John Baiata for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think I learned a lot about LuminoCity Festivals and your vast career in media and project management.
Excellent, Tiberius. Again, thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here. And I'm going to keep you to your word. You got to come see us.
Oh, I definitely will. Well, do you want to give me your social media and website again?
Yeah. You can find myself on social media at John Baiata, and that's JohnBaiata. And you can find us, more importantly, at LuminoCityFestival.com. That's our website. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll see you down at the Florida Mall.
So it's not Mr. Banana, but also you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And I want to thank WWPR 1490 AM, K1998, Soul Radio 24/7, Easy by TV, and all the other stations that air on my show. And please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. And right, it's spelled Baiata, right?
That's it. Every other letter's an A. You got it.
Got it. So, John, are you subscribed yet?
I'm going there right now.
Good. You should, because Dad really wants people to subscribe. Oh, and be sure to leave me a comment if you want to work with Festivals of Light. I answer all the comments myself, and be sure to listen to what's next on the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy!